struggling. Welcome to Porch Play Chats, sponsored by the American Association for the Child's Right to Play, or a little bit of a shorter title is IPA USA. IPA USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association. And as part of our efforts to promote play, we introduced Porch Play Chats way back in 2020. And there's almost 300 of them now free to you on our YouTube channel. And if you friend us on Facebook, every Monday, a new one will pop up in your feed. I'm Deb Lawrence, and I'm co-president of IPA USA. With me on the porch is Suzanne, I want to say Gabli. Is that correct?
Yeah, Gabli. Yep. Hi.
Gabli. There you go. I was very close. Suzanne is, I met Suzanne at the NAYC conference, and she and some of her colleagues came to the reception that we had. And Suzanne is just, I feel like a sister in the work that IPA USA does. She's a visionary leader, a creative thought partner, a play advocate, an early childhood educator with over 20 years of experience. And she's the founder and executive director of Building Blocks Preschool in Highland, Michigan, a Reggio-inspired nature-based school rooted in the belief that childhood is sacred and play is essential. She's deeply passionate about protecting childhood and believes every child has the right to a childhood that includes dedicated, unhurried time outdoors in special places while making curriculum extensions simple, meaningful, and joyful for both children and educators. And she invites others to become childhood Crusaders, a movement focused on advocacy, partnerships, and play to restore childhood and build thriving communities. I just love that. More of that.
So, yeah, and it's foundational, and I think everyone wants that. I think people do want that. I think parents want that. I think our community leaders want that. But the bridge of how to connect the dots in a very hurried, performance-driven
climate
of how we're living our lives. And we have to be the ones as parents, as educators, as thought leaders. How do we connect and bridge day-to-day life? How do we make the days count? Because the years will be flying by. And what kind of habits do you want to put into your family, your children, the children that you serve, the families you serve? What kind of habits do you want to put into that day? And for us, it's like every day's a new day, right? We start fresh every day with our team, with the children we have, our families. And how do we create calm, slowing down to the speed of joy in this hurried, rushed life?
And think what a gift that is for children who, as parents, are busy and they're working and they're stressed and life is happening all around them and prices are going up and
stressor.
It's just a mess, right?
Anxiousness, right?
Anxious. Oh, and sometimes fear about what's going to happen. And so I just want us to think about what maybe the child has been through before they even get to your program, right? So, hurry up and eat your breakfast, hurry up and get dressed. Did you brush your teeth? We're going to be late, hurry up. And it's because families are just like, oh,
go. Well, they have to get to wherever they're supposed to go, to the next step, right?
And then to come to a sanctuary that is beautiful. This is Suzanne's playground. So if you're listening to this, be sure you go home and watch it as well, because Suzanne's provided us with the environment of the outdoor space. To come to a sanctuary where they're not rushed, they're not told where to go, how long to be there, and when to move to the next thing. They can just slow down
to be. and from chaos to calm. How do
Mm-hmm.
we find, and it starts with us. It starts with each and every one of us adults. It takes one caring adult to have an adult that is puts their baggage, puts whatever is going on in their life at the door, or, whatever's happening is that we walk in with a sense of calm. And how do we implement habits to take care of ourselves? Because the oxygen mask cannot go on to the child first. They want you to put the oxygen mask on you first. And that means we need to breathe. Take a deep breath. Just go to gratitude. And how do we create like a gratitude walk every morning? If it's not outside, to have that gratitude walk in the morning. Thank you, Lord, or thank you, universe, for letting me touch the ground and wake up this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we give ourselves a bear hug in bed saying, I love myself. And I know that it's going to be one of those days, but I'm going to start with a calm presence in my life. And how do I incorporate calm into my life? And I remember as a parent in that hurried childhood, for myself, what tools could I implement for my children that, to get the bus or get into the car is like, that 10-minute horn, that 10-minute alarm is like, okay, we got 10 minutes instead of hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Let's go, let's go, let's go. The alarm, the clock became something that we could have time to clean up, time to get ready, time to prepare. Because finding that calm for them, instead of me as the parent being the governor of the household, is how do I incorporate calm into my household before we even get to the school, to get to the next step. And that was part of the journey from your head to your heart. Like, I didn't want my kids to have to experience that. That's
That
something that
rush.
was important to me. And for my childhoods, most of my childhood was spent in my 2.5 acres in a backyard that I got to climb trees and had gardens and had a playhouse. And, I had chaos going on in my household, but I also had my backyard. And my backyard was a place of space, of solace, and gave me a love of learning outside.
Mm-hmm.
And my A score is a 7, which is very high, but resiliency is something that I count on, that awareness of nature now more than ever as an adult. And not everyone gets to have that.
Mm-hmm.
And advocating for wherever your backyard is, you can go to a port, go walk outside, and it could be to a park. It could be to a park system. It could be to your school's backyard, just outside of the school. So wherever you are, you can find a place, a green space. Hopefully you can walk to it
Mm-hmm.
and find a sense of calm for you at first before you give it to your children. And for me, my passion is how do I create what I had as a child in a healthy way for children? And when my husband and I, our children went to the school that we currently own, but I always loved that it backed up to 5,000 acres. You could see the state land. I lived behind that state land myself and appreciated that state land. But it took the image not only of the child, but also of the teacher, the educator, to be able to go past that fence line. And that I trust you with our children, and our parents would trust us with their children to go to visit the pond behind the school. And we would take a nature walk and get to be able to see the pond and observe the pond. And just having a land as teacher, as Diane Cashin and Hoppy, our friends from Canada who are play advocates, is a sense of place. And so we started the school in '04, and by 2008, I already had teachers saying, hey, can we go measure what 100 feet looks like past the fence line? And it's like, I trust you. I hired you through a rubric of trusting you with children. I can trust you outside our fence line.
Mhm.
And so it's that image of the teacher also, not just the image of the child, but the image of the teacher that they are capable and competent.
I
And
think I think one of the things though too that I'm hearing as you're describing, especially this sort of place where teachers can be present, where they can slow down,
Mhm.
where they're in a beautiful space,
Yeah.
where they feel like they have autonomy, is also healthy for the teachers who can go whoo after
Yeah.
the in the
Because it can be, some people will call childcare or teaching young children herding cats.
Mhm.
And that's a visual for you. Uh, but it's also like, okay, what's the priority? Yes, documentation is important, child development, and how we're mapping curriculum and how we're making learning visible and all of those components, but it comes back to what's your intention?
Mhm. And
What's your
who's leading,
and who's,
right?
yes, for sure, for
Because
sure.
your behaviors go down when children lead.
Hmm.
Your social emotional development goes way up when children lead. When and so sometimes I think we're our own worst enemy because we think to be teachers, we have to be in control all the time, which is what our experience was. The teacher told us what to do, when to put it away, when to get something else out. And
And who
so
likes to be bossed around? You like to
nobody,
be bossed around? I don't like to be bossed around.
oh no, I'm a rule breaker. So,
Yeah, yeah, right, right. So it's like, how do we get buy-in?
yeah. Hmm.
Sure.
It's exactly right because sometimes it helps when I'm working with a group of adults in a session or in a course in a classroom, a college classroom. Sometimes it helps when I say, talk to me about a day in your childhood. And they'll say, oh my goodness. So, I had to hurry up and get up and I had to hurry up and do this and I had to hurry up and do that. And I wasn't even awake yet. And then, my parents were frustrated because I wasn't getting dressed fast enough. And then we had to walk to the bus and then we had to take two buses to the childcare center. And then I would walk in the childcare center after being all the rush. And the teacher's like, put your backpack away, do blah, 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 blah. And, and I said, and so what would you want for children different? What what other scenario can you come up with? And so sometimes helping them see that what they would rather have had as children, I go back to um, what we learned in Kentucky with Ready for Me and that beautiful display. Um, what what would you want? What would you have wanted instead?
Hmm.
And
Hmm. How
and
can we make the picture look differently? And what that desire, that heart's desire is going back to your childhood and taking a minute and just picturing your childhood, picturing what was happening that was good and what was happening that was not so good.
Mhm.
And thinking back to your childhood can be traumatizing to some people.
It is almost always traumatizing to some people. I mean, even for me, because I was at a accident when I was 5 that they told my mom I was dying every day for 3 months.
Oh,
And
baby.
and so, there was trauma in that childhood with that accident. But I still feel like I'm resilient and would want something different for my children. And they had that when they were growing up. And, so if we can relate what we dream for children
Mhm.
with what the experiences of our students or our teachers or the adults in the parents in a classroom, what would you want different?
Mhm.
I think that's a powerful way to engage people. What does it look like? What would you want? What would you have told people that you would have wanted different, which empowers them to,
Create a vision.
yes.
You're creating a vision. You're giving them a foundational tool for change. How do you be a change agent if you don't know really what you would want to change?
Mm-hmm. And really reflect, because maybe those reflections are hurtful, right?
Hmm.
Or maybe they're scary,
Hmm.
or but what would you want different is a way for them to sort of dream of a different future
Hmm.
for their children. And so sometimes I think it's that kind of work that gets adults who may not understand why play is so important for children, or who maybe didn't have the opportunity to play
Right.
without adults,
Supervision.
directing
Right.
everything. Yeah. I mean, I was like you, I was outside for hours.
But
My
our
I'm a
kids,
stay-at-home mom, right?
yeah,
A mom.
but our kids don't have that same experience. And even it's changed even so much in the past 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And giving them those experiences and parents, it's just, well, we've just heard structure, structure, structure is so important. They need us, we go to piano lessons or we go to this activity to the next activity. But it's how important is that parent involvement, that one person, the school, the educator, the place of school. But then where's the third piece? The third piece is your neighborhood, your rec center, your you know guides of like the DNR, someplace where there's a play space for them, your town, park, where children get the opportunity to actually be free to play.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And where
And
are those places?
right.
If it's not in your neighborhood because it's not safe,
Hmm.
then how can we as leaders create spaces that are near enough that might be safe, might
Right.
be safer, right? And
Right.
and so it is such a, unfortunately, it's a monumental task, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. It just means we have to chip away and take different approaches to get people to recognize
Right.
that
And
if they want
breaking it,
children to be healthy humans, then they need to play.
yes. And breaking it down to what does that look by asking, being inquiring by asking those questions.
Mm-hmm,
It is relationship based,
mm-hmm,
and creating a space where a parent or an advocate can just touch base saying, do you feel that, children are the same as they were 20 years ago or, when you were a child? And what can we do to be different? And what can we do? Little baby steps. Can we let our
baby
kids walk to
steps.
school? Can we
Mm-hmm.
let them walk to school? Can
Yes.
can we let them go past our space, their home base, to go to the neighborhood behind them
Mm-hmm,
without supervision?
mm-hmm,
Or how do we advocate that parent, that educator to create pop-up play spaces to
mm-hmm,
remind parents and community? How do we remind the community that children should be able to be free to play and that
mm-hmm,
it's a right? In my view, that childhood is, the anxious generation, it's scary what's happening with children and the mental health crisis that not only children are going through, but parents are going through. But I
mm-hmm,
think if we can just anchor into play, anchored
mm-hmm,
into nature, anchored
mm-hmm,
into what's resonated in our hearts, not what's resonating in our head,
mm-hmm,
and because so much as well, children are not, need to learn to read at 5. And there's so much academic push down that we as parents need to push up the social emotional components that children need to have in play as the child is capable and competent and the child can play, but you need to still supervise your 2 and 3 year olds in a play date. Where some
exactly.
parents think, oh, they're having a play date. Well, us parents can just talk and visit and not pay attention. No, young children still need to have a play worker, someone who's advocating, not sitting in the middle of their play,
No, not interfering with their
Not
play.
interfering with their play, but being an observer and a guide in their play,
Mm-hmm.
and not completely letting them just, have a free for all for 2 and 3 year olds, 4 year olds,
Yeah.
being able to have that. Are they capable? Yes. Let them let it work itself out too.
Yes. Yes.
And so many times parents want to pounce in saying, well, you needed to say something sooner. And it's like, no, how about letting them build the strengths, building the muscles? You're never going to build them by being in front, doing it for them. You have to
Mm-hmm.
give them the back support to be able to encourage them and try this maybe. And if it becomes a conflict, then you're intervening a little bit. But letting them work itself out, trusting them. Do we
We
trust
do this
children?
all the time in the neighborhood. I mean, we had to resolve our own conflicts.
Work it out.
Around.
Right.
And so we learned how to negotiate and
Mhm.
to collaborate and to take turns and who was going to make the decisions
Mhm.
and it, play, right?
Yes. Well, it's conflict. And I just tell, our parents, I'm like, this is very set up as a conflict environment,
Of course. Yes.
because how are they going to learn to
Hmm.
play? How are they going to learn to have a voice? So many people did not have their voices were stolen from them.
I
Don't
know.
even know how to advocate for themselves. They're so intimidated or caught into, people pleasing
Hmm.
and all of those pieces, that because you didn't get a chance to advocate for yourself and
Yes.
respected for advocating for yourself.
Hmm. Well, and it was really interesting when my students are in the classroom and we talk about well, we have to supervise them so that they're safe. And I said, how will they ever learn to supervise themselves to make sure they're safe if
Okay.
you're doing it for them?
That's right.
And then they look at me like, what do you mean? I said, well, your job is to ensure that the environment has no hazards, right?
That's
So we want to make sure that, I had a poor program when I was a child care resource and referral director in Colorado Springs that was in a very at-risk community. And so we had many grants that we would give programs to help them with supplies, right? So their mini grant application came and they wanted a metal detector.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was like, okay, I need to know more about this. And so I called the director and said, talk to me about why you want a metal detector. She said, Deb, every morning we have to go out to our playground and we have to pick up dirty needles and condoms
Mm.
and other hazardous things before children can even go out there. I said, okay, you're getting a metal detector. I mean, it's
Right.
it's what they needed to keep a
And
hazard.
every community has different needs.
Yeah,
And it's not a one size fits all,
right.
and creating, the Crusaders toolkit is like, what does your community need?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just what works for Highland, Michigan. It's
Right.
what works in Indiana, what's working in California, what's working in Texas, what's working in Florida, New York. What do you need in your community? Because
And so
every
it goes, I keep going back to that ready for me thing. So, like when we go into communities and we do things to them, right?
Mhm.
So, you need a playground, so we're going to do this to you instead of what we saw in Kentucky when the Park Alliance went into a neighborhood and said, if you could have anything here in a park like atmosphere, what would you want? And they told them, and the Park Alliance did it. So you're not doing it to people, you're
Whatever.
listening first and doing it with people. And the same thing, there was another big example of that in some of the stories that I heard in Kentucky. I mean, Bernheim, I mean, what Claude has been doing in the community is exactly that. They call him and say, I'm I'm interested in putting more nature materials on my playground. And so then they go to them. So what are you thinking about? What are your dreams for it? What are you envisioning that it would be like? And then they do it. And so but it's not doing it to them. It's doing it as a collaborative with them, providing that support. And the same thing happens with the Ready for Me thing. That this neighborhood, this community, these children, if you ask them, will tell you what they would like to have that's different. And then you can support that, but you don't just do things. And unfortunately, that's what we're doing in classrooms. We're just doing things. We're
it's canned curriculum.
Yes, we're doing the crazy academic stuff that is not going to support them. The social and emotional development that Suzanne is talking about.
Suzanne Axelton, Deep Pockets.
It's the tools that they need to be successful academically later. I mean, what are kindergarten teachers telling us? Oh my God, what are fourth grade teachers telling us? They don't even know how to solve a problem with each other.
Right. And well, that's what Suzanne visited our school in August. She came to Michigan for a conference with Cozy and Flourish with Dr. Cheryl Priest and Alex Henry, and hosted up north, which was beautiful. And she was very generous to spend a couple days with me and my team. And she's like, Suzanne, you just have a rain and shine school. You have, quality inside, you have quality outside. And, it didn't start like that. It was a vision of how do we create an outdoor classroom, risky play, looking at Rusty Keeler's, book, which I always call eye candy, and dreaming and dreaming and having a vision and having a team, and then bringing in our parents who are just like, we agree and we see what you're saying. And by 2011, we were able to go past our fence line and go down and add a lower area, like a garden area. So we have like 2 very large outdoor spaces, outdoor classrooms. But you have to have a vision and what's possible and what we wanted. And it took time. But all our parents were they understood that children needed to spend more time outside. And then all of a sudden it's a parent saying, oh, I'll build a mud pie kitchen for you, and I will help you, a handful of parents that I'll help you, build sandboxes or gardens, or how to get a native garden. I have some plants from home that I can add to it. And how do we come as a community to help our learners? And most of those children's families that advocated for us, and at that time, they're starting to graduate from high school. Oh, wow. And some of them are actually come back to work for us. So and they are understanding, because of the foundation that they had, how important being outdoors, being respected, that they are capable, and they see it and want it for other children too.
Yes. And that having the experiences of it is what drives you and I to want it for young children and middle schoolers and high schoolers. So what you're doing is like changing the paradigm of the experiences, because the children who are now graduating from high school and may go on to college and become early childhood professionals will hopefully want to do the same things that they experienced instead of where we are right now, right?
Sure. So and being good humans, even if they don't go into early childhood. They learned what we all need to go back to is going back to that outdoor classroom or that preschool space on how to respect someone else's view. How to be able to speak to each other and be a kind human being into this world, and how important kindness does matter, and how to be a good listener, and how to be diplomatic. And
it's like we need to bring back that poem, Everything I Learned in Kindergarten, right? It's because that
But
was
kindergarten is not that same kindergarten.
right, but it could be
It could be
if
again.
we go back and think about what kindergarten was in that poem for this person,
Mm-hmm.
then it would help people see what comes from being respectful and being able to play and being able to work out your own problems
That's
and
right.
being able to make decisions on your own and determining whether it's a good choice or a bad choice. That was my
And that's risky play. Them learning these things in risky play, learning that helps them decide what genre of books they're going to read. The more risk that they take as a young child, obviously in a controlled environment. My whole floor of my outdoor classroom is pea gravel and then mulch.
mhm.
So it's spongy.
Yeah,
Because if they do fall, we don't have as many injuries. They're very minor and it is a safe place, but it's just asking that child, how does it feel in your body? Because to someone, it might feel very green. To
mhm,
another, it feels very red right now.
mhm,
And them learning to trust themselves,
mhm.
advocating for themselves, speaking for themselves. I will not hold your hand if you're jumping off our tire. You have to feel good in your body and that it feels like a green that you can take that leap and take that jump.
Yes, and making those decisions based on, and just think of the competence and resilience and
Amazing.
the excitement and the curiosity and the success they feel when they couldn't do something a week ago and now they could do
And
it.
doing it over and over again. And
Yeah.
the resiliency, the confidence, it's just they shine through it. And you
Hmm.
then see it in so many other areas of that confidence that I can write my letter W. I can't, where it was a lot of I can'ts,
I can't. I
a
can't.
lot of negative in their head to now I can. The
Mhm.
resiliency piece by being in a risky play environment to be open-ended and being able to create what they want to create in a large loose parts area or a mud pie kitchen or even just being able to jump from a tire is, but if I help them
Mhm. Or
do
pick
it
them
for
up off
them,
the high tree that they
right?
can't get back
Do
down.
it for them.
Yeah,
That
not
doesn't
enough.
build the resiliency. That doesn't build the confidence. It doesn't give them the tools that they need in their toolbox for success.
Hmm.
We all are where we're at as a parent, as an educator, as a leader, a community leader, as a child. We're doing the best that we have with what we have at this moment.
Hmm.
But when we are, realizing that piece where we want to build into our toolbox, that we are capable, we are competent as a parent, as an educator, is to take a little bit of a risk
Hmm.
because we're in a society that failure is just not looked at as a good thing, and
Hmm.
failure is a good thing. We fail now. I mean, love and logic, it's like let them fail. Please,
Yes,
please,
please.
please feel as a young child
Hmm.
and learn how to burn through that. It's a lot harder as a, older teenager, young adult to fail.
And the failings that you may have as an older teenager may have more dire consequences than
Exactly.
the failure you have as a
Exactly.
young child. And you need to learn to bounce back from that. You
That's
need to
right. And
learn.
that's like Jim Fay. He's like, when they didn't take they're learning how to ride their bike and they didn't take their helmet.
Mhm.
You make the consequences really hard. Well, I get bummer. You're not going to be able to ride your bike for 3 weeks. And people will say, 3 weeks? That's extreme. Well, do you want them to learn to make sure they put their safety equipment on their head when it's a bike versus
Yeah.
into a car and not putting a seatbelt in on themselves when they're 16 and driving a car? Where do you want them to be to learn that safety?
I tell you, I got through early childhood and my teenage years with my children by love and logic, parenting with
Mhm.
love and logic, parenting preschoolers with love and logic, parenting, and then the older one is parenting with love and logic, and then parenting teens with love and logic. I mean, really, I was a single mom. It was, it was crazy, and I had two boys and a girl. It was crazy. And
Yeah.
it was, I hadn't gotten my degrees yet. I had just like started taking classes and stuff. And I just remember I need help because their dad was a very authoritarian and I'm an authoritative parent. And so there was anger from authoritarian stuff and then not quite sure what to do, and then of course a divorce in the middle. So they were a mess is the only word I have to say. They are the most responsible, kind, loving children, and they're 48, 46, and 39. And so but it was
But that's the
parenting.
environment, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I come from a similar environment that your children did, and that for me, that advocacy of the resiliency of childhood and how much of the good out of the bad
Mhm.
came through is what I wanted for my children, and why we started the school was I don't come from, everybody said you should go into education, and then everybody said don't go into education because it doesn't pay, and I went into the business realm and then looked, and then my husband is the one who said, Suzanne, well, let's buy the kids it's preschool. And I said, are you crazy? In a lot of blankety blank ways. And but
I am,
yeah,
and I'm proud of it.
and as much as all the hardships of owning a business, he carries the weight. But he was the angel that came up with the idea that brought more purpose for me, that impacted over thousands of children and families because of this idea.
Yes.
And seeing the good and knowing, as hard as it is, because he's a fixer husband, and 29 years later, but he was, Tom Sawyer out, on the pond. His childhood was on the lake, and all the resiliency that happened with him being barefoot and balanced,
Mhm.
because he has twinkle toes, and he got to experience a childhood being barefoot
Mhm.
and building and creating himself. And I think that our partnership has created, even though he still holds a lot of the bag of that piece of his idea when it's hard. But it's good. There's so much good because people don't know that this is even possible. Anything is possible, and this is
And when
possible.
you look at Suzanne's playground, you're going to say, oh, we can never do that. Don't say that to yourself. Say, what could we do? What can I do
Absolutely.
different?
One little thing, one
What
little
could I
thing.
add? Yes.
We added a garden box. We just added little by little incremental change over
Mhm.
time. And then
Yes.
parents notice the difference.
Mhm.
Oh, you're
Absolutely.
doing farm to table. Oh, you're gardening with the kids. I love that. We have gardens at home, or we don't have gardens, but maybe we will have a garden now.
Mhm.
Seeing a child taking green beans right from a green bean plant, seeing children actually planting seeds and watching, an actual tomato plant grow. Uh,
Yes.
it's amazing. And them taking those cherry tomatoes and just eating them, or raspberries from the raspberry bush and just eating them. Like, that's childhood. That's what
That's
I got.
childhood.
That's childhood. Letting them have a childhood and those memories, even if you're not the gardener parent, even if you're not the artist parent, you don't want the messiness. We
Mhm.
get to have that, parents, a lot of our parents will have a art space, a messy art space that they'll just allow children to be
Mhm.
messy in that art space at home, because they see how much they need that sensory experience with their hands to touch those materials,
Mhm.
and how foundational that is for their creativity.
Oh my. So Danielle's in the waiting room, so I'm going to have to close this out. But oh, we could talk for days. I've decided. I'm really going to try to make it to Michigan if I get this crazy sabbatical. So
Oh, wonderful. I can't
I'm
wait to host you. You can come and stay with me.
I'm so
Whatever we need to
excited.
do,
I
whatever.
really I really think I have to go there because it's just amazing. So again, I just want to tell everyone, if you're just listening to this, this is one you want to go home and watch because this playground outdoor space is beautiful. Suzanne, stay right there while I close this out.
Thank you.
To learn more about IPA USA, please visit our website at ipausa.org. And until next time, keep on playing.